It's estimated that 6.6 million tonnes of food is wasted in the UK every year. In fact, 1/3 of all food intended for human consumption ends up in the bin. Every household, every restaurant, every factory producing food, and every school in the UK disposes of its leftovers. Most of it is sent to landfill, where it produces greenhouse gases.
And this isn't just a problem for the UK. Across the countries of the European Union, estimates suggest that 88 million tonnes of food waste are generated annually. This produces 6% of the total greenhouse gas emissions produced by the EU. The cost of this is €143 billion.
The UK government has promised to reduce food waste by 20% by 2025. There are 579 anaerobic digestion plants so far in the UK, which turn this valuable trash into treasure, biogas to heat homes, and rich agricultural fertilizer.
In Gloucestershire in southwest England, instead of sending food to landfill, any organisation can opt to have a wheelie bin exchange.
There we go. 2 fresh bins ready for use for the whole week. And once they're filled, they'll come back same time next week, empty them, and repeat the cycle each week.
Food waste is collected and delivered to the Digestion site near Cheltenham from the surrounding areas. This school chooses to send its food waste there for processing, instead of to landfill.
We all know that children can be fussy eaters, which means in schools there will inevitably be food waste. This school here wastes around 6 tonnes of food a year. Before, that would have just been put in black bins, but now it's taken away in these bins and turned into biogas and fertilizer. So this is where all of the food comes in. Some of it will be in plastic and some of it won't. So then what happens next?
So you see they load it into these 2 hoppers behind you, and it gets pulled up those conveyor belts into the depackaging machines, which pulverise the waste and split the hard packaging from the soft food. The soft food then gets pushed through a screen to make sure there's no large chunks in, and it goes off to our mixing tanks, which are outside.
This is the food waste reception hall. It's where all the food comes in and then gets sorted. This plant processes around 34,000 tonnes of food waste every year, and that powers 2,500 local homes.
Once the food waste's been mixed in the mixing tank here, we pump the waste out through a macerator pump, which makes sure all the food pieces are a uniform size, which means they can be heated up to the same level by our heat exchanging system. Once we collect the gas off the food waste, we've got an on-site engine that creates electricity and heat, and we use that heat to heat up the food waste to 70 degrees. Once it's at that temperature, we store it for an hour in the pasteuriser tanks you can see over there, and at that point the waste is safe to go into the digesters to be processed for gas.
The waste is then left for 55 days. Biogas is produced through a natural process called anaerobic digestion, which turns food into gas.
When food goes into landfill, you're generating methane, and that methane is a greenhouse gas, 21 times more potent than carbon dioxide. So by putting it into anaerobic digestion, you're stopping that global warming by capturing that energy and using it for something useful rather than just letting it go up in the air.
So when we get onto site, we've got a tank on site that sits in the field, and this just pumps straight into them. Then our agricultural vehicles pull up to the tank and then load out of there.
The digestate is pumped into tankers to be taken to local farms.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, thank you.
Shall I have a...
Yeah, so if you want to take a look at that, that's the final product that goes out to the farm.
It's very thick. That's somebody's leftover Chinese takeaway.
Somebody's leftover everything, yeah. And if you have a smell, it's
it doesn't,
not too smelly.
No, it doesn't actually smell.
Digestate is commercially known as rocket fuel. It's got great trace elements, it's got a little bit of organic matter, which is what you don't get with artificial fertilizer.
Will Odom has been using Digestate on his arable farm for 6 years. He now applies 14,000 tonnes a year.
It's very effective. It's 7 days and you can see where it's been applied. It really picks up the crops. In terms of compared to pre-oiled fertilizer, it's tenfold in the effectiveness, I suppose, or the response that you see in the crop.
More than 330 anaerobic digestion plants like this one are under development in the UK, which will bring the total to nearly 900. At the moment, construction is dependent on government support to incentivise companies to build and run them.
To improve the amount of food waste being recycled, the government could introduce laws to require local authorities and businesses to recycle any food waste they are producing. At the moment, they're not required to. In Scotland, I believe they are. So seeing that extended over the whole of the UK would make a massive difference.
Many of us throw away our leftovers without thinking of the environmental cost. But if every person in the UK stopped wasting food for just one day, it would have the same impact on greenhouse gases as planting 500,000 trees. The UN has set a sustainable goal to halve food waste by 2030. Producing fuel and fertilizer from our scraps may play a vital role in cutting emissions, while at the same time transforming our trash into treasure.